Chill Talk.
Chill Talks. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Chill Talks podcast where conversations happen. So I'm your host PJ, and hi, it's been a while. Hey there. It's been 3 months, I believe, and this is the longest I have been gone in this podcast. So if you're listening to this now, hi, kamusta? And I think I owe you guys an explanation on why I have been gone for a few months. And maybe this title of the episode can help us address that. And as you can see, it deals with emptiness. And pagdating sa emptiness, I'm just not defining emptiness as yung bigla kang nawala ng gana or bigla kang umayaw na lang. As I reflect upon the journey on how I dealt with this emptiness, it's a lot more deeper. It's deeper than I have imagined, and I figured that I should only share my inputs about this one if I know sa sarili ko na nalagpasan ko na siya, or di naman sa completely nalagpasan, or I know how to manage it. Kasi as we go along with the passage of life, so ginagawa natin yung mga kailangan natin gawin, work, school, families, or our different obligations, minsan marirealize natin na bigla na lang, alam mo yun, yung bigla ka nawalan ng gana, like I said, bigla kang nawalan ng direksyon, bigla kang napagod, bigla kang umayaw sa mga ginagawa mo, or maybe you just stopped doing anything and just allow yourself to feel empty. And at first, I thought it was just something na nararamdaman natin because we're tired, we're over-fatigued by what we're doing. But at the end of the day, habang tumatagal siya, it gets heavier than I imagined. I've been seeing social media posts, shared posts from my friends tungkol dito, and I might as well share some of that, kung paano ko siya naramdaman, paano ko siya hinandle, and paano ko siya minamanage hanggang ngayon. And some of this journey revolved around self-reflection, communicating with others, and seeking the experiences of other people as well. So malaking tulong din, particularly one of the creators na nakita ko na that dealt with this kind of feeling is Erin Iman. So yeah, this is a huge inspiration for me to do this episode. Now, let's just jump into it. So una sa lahat, ang una kong tinatanong usually, bakit tayo nakakaramdam ng emptiness? Nung bigla kong nawalan ng gana when doing work, when doing this podcast thing, when doing my hobbies. Bakit? Ano ang nagtulak sa akin sa ganun? And I reflected back on the actions that I made, on the impact that it had with people around me, and I've come up with few reasons. And do note that this is coming from my own personal experience, but at the same time, it is also beneficial so that if you are encountering the same experience as well, then maybe this can serve as a roadmap. Ika nga. So, I digress. One of the first things na realize ko because why I am feeling empty is that hindi ko nakikita yung gusto kong makita. That's basically it. Yung tipong gusto kong makita na maging successful yung ginagawa ko. Gusto kong makita yung direct impacts ng ginagawa ko. And not seeing that, parang naisip ko na, what's the point? Na there were instances na hindi ko tinitignan yung nagiging epekto ng ginagawa ko. Nung una, okay lang. Akala ko okay lang. Pero eventually, nakikita ko, what's the point? No, kung hindi mo nararamdaman yung epekto ng actions mo. And it was hard nung na-realize ko yun kasi as a person who is teaching, who is managing multiple roles at the same time, I kinda expect na kailangan makita ko lagi yung mga ginagawa ko or yung impacts. But once I realized na halos walang impact, walang dent na nagagawa yung actions ko, it's kinda bit hard to move forward. And eventually, na-get over ko siya. This is one of the first hurdles na na-overcome ko when I felt this surge of emptiness. Kasi it's easy to see the impacts of your actions if you just know what to look for. And I realized that when someone showed me an empty box, tapos tinanong ako nun, anong nakikita mo sa kahon? Wala ba? Or may laman yan? So, syempre, nung nakita ko yung kahon, wala siyang laman. So, therefore, sinabi ko, walang laman yung kahon. So, sinabi naman nung barkada ko, walang laman yung kahon kasi ang nakikita mo ay walang laman yung kahon. Pero kung ang titignan mo ano ang meron sa kahon, meron daw siyang hangin, yung kahon mismo nandun, may space sa loob. So, it's never really empty in the first place. So, diyan, iba lang yung gusto mong makita. Kaya pag hindi mo nakikita, you would assume na wala siya doon. So, nung na-realize ko yun, kind of made me shift perspectives on things. Na kapag when I'm doing something, I kind of see certain objectives or a certain goal na madali lang makita. So that I don't set my expectations too high, and at the same time I don't set my standards low. So it's just in the middle ground. Now, saan I'm more aware of my actions and the impact that it has. If it's a positive impact, then I tend to maintain it. And if it's a negative impact ang nagagawa ng actions ko, then I kind of just reflect upon it and try to build and be better as I go along. So that's the first one. And I think it took me 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to overcome that kasi it was very hard to shift your focus to something because may gusto kang makita talaga eh. Yung tipong ginagaslight ko pa yung sarili ko na ito yung nakikita ko, therefore ito na yung gusto kong makita. And maraming conflicts na nagsasabay-sabay. Ito ba yung gusto kong makita? Ito ba yung dapat kong makita? Kaysa dun sa sitwasyon na meron ako. So it's mahirap siya. Bottom line. And happy to say na nagpasan ko siya ng konti. So for the second one is that it is kind of bit connected in is hindi ko nakikita yung vision ko because I have set different kinds of expectations. And those kinds of expectations ay minsan nakakasira din ng momentum. And I know some people na nagsasabi na do not expect anything from others, do not expect anything sa mga ginagawa mo so that hindi ka ma-disappoint. Diba? Don't set expectations down on things because you will be disappointed. And at first, I kind of tried that. And nung una, akala ko effective. Kasi if you don't set expectations to someone, if you don't set expectations to the things you're doing, parang kinda ignorance is bliss, ika nga ang lumalabas. But abang tumatagal, makikita mo na rin na if you don't set expectations, hindi mo rin nakikita yung sarili mo na how hopeful you are sa sitwasyon na kinakaharap mo. Halimbawa, if I was encountering a bad mood, if hindi maganda yung pakiramdam ko, and if I kinda don't set an expectation for me to be better, parang hindi rin ako gumagawa ng paraan para ma-reach yung ganong expectation ko. So, bit by bit, I tried to set different levels of expectations na tangible, or maybe I under-promise but over-deliver. Kesa naman sa nasobran yung expectation mo but you under-deliver. So, kinda makes sense din pag ganun. And as a person who has been a failure for most of my years, I can apply the things na I'm always hopeful when it comes to others because I trust them that they will know how to be better. Maybe it will be sa impact ko or maybe hindi. And that's okay. I just trust that people will eventually be better. And that kind of hope makes me want to explore more and be more present. Kasi nung hindi ako nag-set ng expectations sa kahit anong bagay, mas naisip ko na why would I show up? Diba? Why would I bother showing up if wala akong expectations ng mga nilagay sa mga certain people, sa certain task na ginagawa ko. And nung hindi ako naglagay ng expectations, kind of, yeah, one of the things na it made me feel empty din. It made me feel directionless nung time na yon. And hindi siya nakakatuwa. Sa una, parang blissful, but eventually it gets heavier. So, it took me more or less a month? Yeah, I guess a month. Forgot the timelines dito because I remember it's around early February kasi yung ganong feeling eh. So, let's move on. And this one, this third reason is actually funny for me because nung na-realize ko siya kung bakit ako nagiging empty, it made sense kung bakit takot akong gumalaw, takot akong mag-speak up. It's because I made a mistake. Most of us, or maybe me in particular, we feel empty because we made a mistake. We made, either nagkamali tayo sa kapwa natin, nagkamali tayo sa mga palibot natin, may nakapansin sa atin, or nagkamali tayo sa mga salita, or nagkamali tayo sa actions natin. And the more we are aware of the mistakes that we have made, the more scared we are in taking more risk. The more mistakes we made, the more fear that we had in taking risk. Kasi, iisipin mo yung bigat ng pagkakamaling nagawa mo. And it happened to me 3 times already. And parang naisip ko sa sarili ko, kailangan ko pa bang gumalaw? Kailangan ko pa bang mag-asikaso nito na magkakamali din naman ako? Or kailangan ko pa ba itong gawin? Alam ko namang galit yung tao na ito sa akin. And because of that, I kind of just set the limitations on myself. Even though, yes, I'm taking accountability of the actions, I am facing the consequences of those mistakes, but at the same time, once you're in that process, parang isipin mo na, should I take more risk and make more mistakes? Kasi dadaanan mo na naman yun eh. And the more you fear about it, the less movements you make. Parang sa chess. Kapag lagi mong iniisip yung bad moves mo, you never make a move. And na-realize ko yun na napakabigat nung ganun kasi you always put yourselves on how people will see you. You will be under this fallacy na kung saan hindi ka gumagalaw kasi alam mo nagkamali ka. At kapag gumalaw ka nagumalaw ka as improvement doon sa nagawang pagkakamali, baka lumabas kang hipokrito. That's why we're afraid to do that. I kind of forget the name of the fallacy, but it kind of happens. And it hinders us to move, and therefore we feel emptier and emptier and emptier. The more we see the problems, the more we see the opinions of others, the less moves we make. So, yeah, napaparami yung salita ko ng moves, but the toughest part of that, well, personally, hindi naman na mahirap sa akin humarap sa pagkakamali ko. But sometimes, alam mo yun, making too many mistakes is just a bit tiring. Nakakapagod din na kapag nagkamali ka ng ganito, tama na. Iba naman, parang gusto mo lang magpahinga. And that's what I did. Taking a rest. And when I was rested, then parang mas nagkaroon ulit ako ng willingness to take more risk. And because of that risk na hinaharap ko lagi, I tend to be more productive lately. Kasi if I will hold my mistake above my head, or yun ang nagpapabigat sa actions ko, parang wala ding mangyayari. And the more I take risk, yes, the more you take risk, the more chances that you will make a mistake. And that's okay. And that's more chances that you will grow din as a person. So long as the mistakes na ginawa mo nung una, you tend to avoid as much as possible. You tend to avoid the same mistakes that you made kasi dun ka mas mapofrustrate talaga. New mistakes, meaning that you are growing, that new horizons are opening up for you as well. So, yeah, ganun yung sa akin when it comes to doing that. And yeah, when you make a mistake, then it will jump to the next one, is that you're not seeing the result of your actions, which is equivalent sa number 1 na sinabi ko. Pero ang pinagkaiba naman dito na you're not seeing the result of one's action kapag hindi mo rin nakikita yung actions na binibigay sa iyo ng iba. This is the sad part when dealing with emptiness, is that if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't have a sense of direction, you feel empty, or if you made a mistake towards others and you just dwell in self-pity, hindi mo nakikita yung small efforts ng mga taong nakapalibot sa'yo. Even the essence or the presence na, uy, kamusta ka na? Di ka na namin nakikita. Na-miss ka namin. Uy, kapag may kailangan ka, magsabi ka. We tend to ignore those things. Or maybe on my end, I have ignored those things. Na the moment na na-realize ko yung mga lapses ko, doon bumuhos yung realization na there were people that were good to me na never ko napansin. I got selfish, and that was not a good thing, and that is not a good thing. Mas, anong tawag nito? And nung una, inisip ko, ay, grabe, may nagawa na naman akong mali. But at the same time, nung na-realize ko yung ganung pagkakamali ko, then I have to do something. I have to be better. And that is one of the first step na na-realize ko na if you want to deal with feeling empty, you have to convince yourself that you have to be better. Ganun lang naman siya. And because of that, nagsisimula na lang siya. In becoming better, na-realize ko na there's no roadmap to this. You just have to do it. Na there is this paradox na kung saan the more you speak about something, the less likely it will become true. So, halimbawa, pagkapag lagi kong sinasabi na matutulog na ako ng maaga, mag-exercise na ako, the less chance na magagawa mo yun because nasabi mo na eh. Yung energy mo doon mo na na-divert on speaking it out loud. So, you just do it. Yan lang. You just do it. Na I started working out again, kahit simple weights lang, konting papawis, na hindi ko na siya sinasabi. Ginagawa ko na lang siya. And that's how it takes. Because on taking those steps on becoming better, you tend to grow, you make mistakes, and you grow, like I said kanina. And next one is that this is very common. And this is not, I think, unique for just millennials or early teens or early adults. It's kind of common for everyone. And it's, we feel empty because we think how people will judge us. The spotlight effect, ika nga. We're so focused on how people see us, then we never see, we're so focused on how people see us, we're no longer seeing ourselves. Because we're too focused on how they see us. Hindi na natin nakikita kung ano yung tingin natin sa sarili natin. So, that's why I open it up na malaking inspiration si Mr. Eri Neiman on making this episode because he talked about validation. And most of us are inclined or have this subconscious desire to be validated by people na nakapalibot sa atin. Even strangers. Sometimes it's nice to be validated by strangers than our own peers. And those kinds of validations na kapag the more we seek it, the less we see ourselves. Kasi we're just adjusting on how people sees us. So parang hindi mo na alam kung saan ka lulugar. Hindi mo na alam kung sino ka. And that is hard. And sanga-sanga naman siya eh. If you just see yourself by how others sees you, then babalik tayo sa una. Mawawalan ka ng direction. You will still feel empty. You will never see the vision that you want to see for yourself. Because you're never seeing yourself in the first place. It's kind of a bit of a balance by how we see ourselves and how we can see other people as well. Diba? Yun siya. Validation from others. So I think, paano ko ba ito nalagpasan? Hindi ko pa siya nalalagpasan entirely per se. It's more on, I'm actually practicing self-validation. Self-validation is difficult. I searched it on YouTube, Google, maraming mga advices on how to validate yourself. And it's not really, ano tawag ito, ang na-realize ko kasi in validating yourself, it's not really ignoring what other people says about you. Kasi usually ang nagiging feedback natin, ay hayaan mo na yan, opinion nila yan, wag na natin pansinin yan. Ignore natin lahat. So, when it comes to ignoring, yes, again, like tulad nung kanina, ignorance is bliss, na the less we know about something, parang the better we feel. But when it comes to this, ignorance is not blissful. Kasi we should not be ignorant, or we should not be, we should not be unaware kung ano yung mga nagiging impact natin sa iba, or kung ano rin yung reaction nila sa ginagawa natin. Feedback is important, and the moment you can accept different kinds of feedback in a way na kaya mong ma-process kung ano yung makakatulong sa yung negative feedback, ano yung makakatulong sa yung positive feedback, and ano yung hindi makakatulong sa yung negative feedback, and ano rin yung hindi sa yung makakatulong na positive feedback. The more you can accept or filter those things, the more you can validate yourself. Na simple lang na bagay, nakikita mo yung mga actions mo, tapos makikita mo on how people behave, then you can adjust from there. And another one of the simplest tricks na apply ko when it comes to self-validating is that if you did good, you did good. Nagawa kang tama, pat yourself on the back and say, good job. Usually yung ginagawa ko. At the end of the day, I pat myself and I say, good job. Every time na sinulat ko yung report ko, good job. Every time na after ko ng shift ng isang work, good job. When I get home from school, good job. It's kinda nakakagaan siya. And because of that self-validation, I tend to transfer it to other people. If they're doing a good job, I will tell them good job. So you just transfer how you validate yourself, then dire-diretso siya on how you can genuinely validating others. And if you did something wrong, kailangan naman sabihin mo sarili mo na, oy, good job. May nagawa kang mali, good job. No. If you did something wrong, usually sa akin ang ginagawa kong parang self-validation, na if I did something wrong, okay, you did something wrong. Saan ka nagkamali, then doon ang i-improve mo, then bounce back. You can do it. Okay? Na I read this quote, hindi pala read, I watched Ted Lasso, if you're familiar with Ted Lasso. He said an amazing quote na tumatak sa akin, and I am applying it on how I handle my own mistakes and how I handle the mistakes of the people surrounding me. Na sinabi niya doon, and I will paraphrase na lang, is that I hope that we are not judged by the actions that we made at our lowest point in our lives, but rather we are judged, or we are seen by the actions that we did, kung paano natin na-overcome ang second chances na binibigay sa atin. And when I listened to that quote, na-realize ko na I was being too hard on myself. Kaya, you have to see the mistakes that you're doing as a kind of a second chance for us to be better. And those are the strengths na kailangan natin pansinin. The progress, pagdating sa redemption natin, pagdating sa pag-improve natin, those are the things na kailangan natin tutukan. Hindi yung mistakes na nagawa natin at our most vulnerable moments. Because those are not the true us. Hindi yun yung totoong tayo. And we can always improve for the better. So, ganun. Another one, when it comes to the validating part, next one is that comparison. And comparison and failures, I have discussed failures a while ago. And comparison is kind of bit of a similar take. Na kung saan we compare our journey with others, pero that is cliche na lagi na nating naririnig. Na the more we compare about our progress than other people, nakikita natin na masyado pa tayong maraming kulang sa buhay natin and we feel demotivated. But in this case, it's not really comparing the direction ng iba sa sarili natin, but comparing the progress that we are having right now compared sa progress na nagawa natin before. What do I mean? One of the challenges na na-realize ko when reflecting upon the emptiness na nararamdaman ko is that I tend to compare yung mga problems na nalagpasan ko and yung mga problems na pinagdadaanan ko ngayon. And sometimes na-realize ko na, oh my God, may problems na nalagpasan ko noon na hindi ko na nagagawa ng maayos ngayon. So parang, oh my God, am I becoming worse when it comes to dealing with problems? Am I becoming worse and worse, and am I becoming inadequate? Kasi nalagpasan ko na siya before, pero ngayon hindi ko na siya nalalagpasan. So parang those kinds of critical comparison hurts us more than how we compare ourselves to others. Kasi usually pag comparison, akala natin yung progress lang natin tas yung progress ng iba. Sometimes it's still your progress now and your progress before. Kung ano yung mga nalagpasan mo na. And sometimes hindi natin yung nakikita. And nung napansin ko siya, it was very difficult. I think umiyak ako nung na-realize ko yun. Na baka hindi na sapat yung mga ginagawa ko kasi baka may nalagpasan ako dati na hindi ko na kayang lagpasan ngayon. And doon ko na-realize na we stumble then and there. Just because na hindi ka na napapatid sa linya doesn't mean na hindi ka na talaga mapapatid sa linya ever. Diba? So, but it's still a way for us to bounce back. Parang it's a sign for us to be humble, to be more aware ulit, or parang hindi ka na maging kampante, o nagiging kampante ka na, tama, ups, parang ganun yung sinasabi sa akin nung sitwasyon, ganun yung sinabi sa akin ng Diyos, ups, nagiging komportable ka na, PJ, magkamali ka ulit sa ganitong bagay, para mapaalala yung failures na nagawa mo, so that you can be better. So it's a humbling reflection nung na-realize ko yun. And yeah, very thankful for that. And the last one for me that made sense kung bakit I was feeling empty is that the lack of connection. We take pride, or most of us take pride when saying na, ay, napaka-introverted kong tao, napaka-ganito, mahiyain akong tao, ayokong sumali sa mga ganito, gusto kong mapag-isa. And those kinds of parang self-affirmation kinda distance ourselves from people. Yung tipong nung panahon na panahon na ine-establish ko na ay introverted ako, I don't like people, talagang nagmamanifest siya. And it was not good kasi mas nagiging distant ako sa tao. I never showed up. And this is an easy one. Syempre, to fix the lack of connection, you have to show up. People will not show up for you unless you show up for them. Pero you have to show up for others because you can show up for them, not because you are expecting them to show up for you when you need it. You show up for others because you have the capacity to do so. If you feel that you're tired, hindi mo kaya makisalamuha sa ibang tao, then take a rest. And for me, dun yung din na-realize ko. Talking with my parents, talking with my friends, talking with my peers. Connections are important. Even connections among strangers is also important. Because you kind of feel this ano to? You kind of feel this presence na kung saan you're not alone. It's better to be sad and alone with other people. It's better to be sad and happy with others rather than be happy just by yourself. Everything can be shared and everything should be shared. it's a shared struggle na na-realize ko na most people deepen their connections because they have a shared struggle. Share ang struggle mo with your friends. Kaya kung papansin, na-realize ko din na some of the deepest friendships and connections that I had, it's because may nalagpasan kaming mahirap na sitwasyon together. Even as a group, as a class, as a circle of friends, nung may nalagpasan kaming malaking problema as a team, mas yun ang nag-connect sa amin sa isa't isa. It's not the common goals, it's not the common interest, but it's the common struggle na sabay naming nilagpasan. And yeah, for that, it's very thankful nung na-realize ko yun. Can I say, Can I happily say na I don't feel empty? No. I'm sure those kinds of feelings will come back, but maybe it's a sign for that I'm getting better because I managed to do this episode for you guys na nakaroon tayo ng ganitong avenue to reunite and rekindle. And hopefully tuloy-tuloy ulit. And I plan to do this ulit na weekly ulit when it comes to posting podcast. Kinda miss this. And yeah, this is me showing up. Syempre, as a man of faith, hindi rin mawawala yung pagdadasal. Personally, I can never have listed down the things that I discuss or hindi ko siya masasabi sa inyo ng maayos without prayer. Prayer that I can speak this with clarity. Prayer that I can speak this with sincerity. And with the hope na if you're encountering the same things that I have encountered, you can also share it with others. Or in fact, try it for yourself and see where it goes or see how it leads you. And yeah, with that, thank you so much for listening. And here's 2 more episodes with you guys. This is your host, PJ, and I'll see you on the next one. Be safe and take care.